That kid on the two-point conversion play.
Like he really enjoys, people like us, Vinny, talking about him.
I don't know what's going on here with Aaron Rodgers. I think there's some frustration settling in, and the Jets were not supposed to be this bad of a defense, right? They've had a lot of injuries. Maybe that's the thing here. Robert Saleh's influence is there. I know they have their defensive coordinator running things, but now he's distracted.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst player screen I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. See, here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets and when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Happy Monday, football fans. It is time for Pro Football Today, the pregame party with Kasey Hudson, Dave Sharapan, Tom Vecchio, and Adam Kaufman. And boy, am I excited for tonight's matchup. Giants versus the Steelers. We saw the Steelers come to life in a number of ways in their previous game. So can they continue the role is the biggest question coming into this matchup. But more importantly, what will we get out of the Giants, who have just been extremely stagnant and falling backwards in their performances as of late? I don't know. There's a number of ways to put this, but what better way to unpack it all than with this group of gentlemen right here? So y'all know where we start with the Sportsbook King. How you feeling? How's this Monday treating you? I thought it was Saturday, at least up until an hour ago. So I think that means that we're off to a great start, yeah?
I mean, you didn't know what day it was? Like, it's Monday Night Football, and it's nighttime in Pittsburgh behind me, but I finally got my team in a primetime game. So anything that I say tonight has to be taken with a grain of salt because I'm biased. 100%. If you don't know who I'm rooting for, I broke out the fine jacket, the hat, all this other stuff. It's all about the Steelers for me tonight. I don't want to hear any nonsense. Hopefully the boys have some props and some things that are in favor of the Steelers stuff doing well and the Giants stuff doing bad, because I can't see how the Giants are going to score more than 13 points tonight. I don't know what their team total is. I didn't even look yet, but I'm going, if it's 13 or less, that's what we're going. Under. Team total, Giants. That's one for you, Case, right off the top.
Wow, this is the first time you have come on here and been like, no nonsense. So everybody take note of that. And then not for the team total for the game, but for the first half alone, Giants are only sitting at like a very unsexy 6.5 over under. So I'm sure we will find ways to make sure that the no nonsense does not roll over to you tonight, Dave. Tom, what are we making of this matchup? 5.5 on the spread, 36.5 on the total. I did see it jump up to 37. Not that there's much stock in that, but what are we taking, or what vantage point do we have when it comes to the Giants versus the Steelers tonight?
It could be one of the worst primetime games of the season, and it's not going to be from the Pittsburgh side of things. It's going to be because the Giants, who are just not a good team. I think I have a very interesting angle to approach tonight's game with. Oftentimes I come here and I say it's all about one player, and it's going to be the insert player's name game for the Steelers or whatever team it happens to be. And I think that's what we have tonight. And it's not a route I often go. So once we start diving into things, I think we are going to kind of narrow in on who I want to be trusting on the Giants side of things. Listen, Malik Neighbors is immensely talented. I think we all understand that. But at the end of the day, Daniel Jones isn't good, and this is a good defense. So I think the Steelers' defense is absolutely live for a touchdown today. I'm not going to say first touchdown because that's a little bit too much. But the Steelers' defense coming away with a touchdown, I think, is firmly on the table tonight. You could look to add in a Daniel Jones interception, go for the old double dip, as I like to say. But I think this is all about the terrible towel tonight.
Ooh, I like some of those angles already, Tom. Adam, how's it hanging? What's going on?
Kasey, I'm going to talk to you the way that my young sons talk to each other. You are a stupid liar. Nobody is looking forward to this game tonight, Kasey. Nobody. I mean, you have to be a Steelers fan
there
to be excited.
There are things to look forward to, Adam. I didn't say the whole thing was...
No, there aren't.
You're being a child. You're being your child.
There's nothing in this game. No, I'm not. You are. There's nothing in this game to look forward to in this contest whatsoever. This is a terrible game. We're going to talk about it for the next hour, and I hope everyone hangs out with us here in SportsGrid to listen to it as we try and find some opportunities to make money. But then after that, we're done. Keep watching SportsGrid and then put on a movie on a different screen. Don't watch this game. This game is going to be absolute terrible, awful game. We should be banking on a very low-scoring contest. But I'll tell you what, Kasey, I know that you love when I come on here with trends. I'm going to give you...
They are my friends
just
now.
a collection of trends. A trends collection for us to think about. And many of them, Dave, I will say, are in your favor as a Steelers fan. For instance, Mike Tomlin, 20-3 in his career on Monday Night Football. That includes a 10... That seems pretty good. I have to check the percentage. I think it's all right. That includes a perfect 10-0 record at home. Also, and Dave, you probably know this.
Wait, where's the game tonight? Where's the game tonight, Adam?
That's it. Yeah, it's in Pittsburgh. In fact, while we're talking about that, the Steelers have not lost a home game in Pittsburgh. Obviously, have not lost a home game on Monday Night Football since 1992. That's when, the first George Bush was president, and I would be willing to bet before, either Tom or Kasey were even born. That's how long ago.
No, I was alive.
The Steelers lost, maybe. That's when the Steelers last lost a game in Monday Night Football. The streak dates back to 1992. How about this? Daniel Jones in primetime. We already dumped all over this dude earlier in the year when we had to watch the Giants in primetime before. Daniel Jones, 1-15 straight up in primetime games. He is 6-10 against the spread. However, all right, those are all pro Pittsburgh. I'll give you one that's on the other side, Dave.
Oh, great.
Russell Wilson in his last Wilson in his last 9 games as a 3+ point favorite. And remember, the Steelers are favored by 6 tonight. His teams are 0-8-1 against the spread, 3-6 straight up.
Never.
Wow.
Covered.
Wow. Adam just decided that he was coming into this Monday to steal joy. That's what he decided. He chose violence today. He said, hey, it's Halloween week, and he's probably stressed out, and he said, I'm here to just steal everyone's joy. I mean,
listen,
you have
I got
candy all day. I'm hopped up.
I gotta give a spoiler to all the viewers. Dave's probably going to love my SGP, and he's going to love my LLL segment. If this is the route that we're going, and considering what I have to say today, it's just going to be the Tom show today.
Wow.
That's fine. Listen,
guns a-blazing. What did these guys... They're cut off from candy. We're not allowed to do the Halloween with these gentlemen, ever.
It's a big week. It's a very big week. But, so, back when I was playing sports and playing hockey and everything, a haircut meant good luck. It was always a big production night. I would get superstitious, and I would go get it high and tight. You go to the barbershop, say, clean it up. Vecchio, you are looking unbelievable. The haircut may already put you in favor in it, like it, love it, or leave it, or same game parlay, which we'll have a little bit later. Kaufman, you had a big night. You had a big night when you got a haircut too. It's possible.
Here's the thing, though. I'm kind of disappointed in Tom because he also mentioned when you observed his nifty high and tight cut that he's coming off a great day. When you have a great day, Dave, you don't change a damn thing. You don't do anything. You let that hair grow down to your butt if you have to, if it means you're winning every single day. You don't touch it.
Oh my gosh. So much to unpack here, that's for sure. But against all the things that Adam just said, we are going to make this exciting. We are going to make this a game worth watching because coming up, we've got some head-to-head action on the other side of the break where we break down these position groups and, of course, give you something worth betting on within this game, regardless of the spread and the total of this and the predicted low scoring. Because, look, guys, that's got busted how many times now? And if the Steelers can pick up the way they did in the second half versus a Jets team that has no idea where their life is going this season, how can they not rack up some points versus this Giants team? I don't know. Maybe you guys can sell me on that after
Is it still
the break
National Tight End Day, Case? All I could think about yesterday as tight ends were catching balls all over the place was, can we carry this momentum to Friarmouth tonight?
We sure can, because he was a hero versus the Jets last week. He was a hero. Tight ends can always get a celebration in my book. Y'all know that. But regardless, we got head-to-head coming up on the other side. Make sure you're following SportsGrid over at SportsGrid on X, including these three handsome faces. We got a quick break coming up, so don't go anywhere. We'll catch you on the other side.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Look, Aaron Rodgers, it does seem like he really enjoys, people like us, Vinny, talking about him.
I don't know what's going on here with Aaron Rodgers. I think there's some frustration settling in, and the Jets were not supposed to be this bad of a defense, right? They've had a lot of injuries. Maybe that's the thing here. Robert Saleh's influence is there. I know they have their defensive coordinator running things, but now he's distracted.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst player screen I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. So here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like this that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you
Look, Aaron Rodgers, it does seem like he really enjoys, people like us, Vinny, talking about him.
I don't know what's going on here with Aaron Rodgers. I think there's some frustration settling in, and the Jets were not supposed to be this bad of a defense, right? They've had a lot of injuries. Maybe that's...
Welcome back into Pro Football Today, the pregame show with Kasey Hudson, Dave Sharapan, Tom Vecchio, and Adam Kaufman. And in case you missed it, we got the Giants taking on the Steelers tonight for Monday Night Football. I promise we are going to make this exciting, which means it's time to take some of these position groups head-to-head. Now, I might just contradict myself on my statement, whatever. I'm owning up to it because I said we're going to make it exciting, but in order to take this groups head-to-head, we got to start with the quarterbacks, and we have to fine things to say about Daniel Jones, but other than that, we can also touch on the expectation when it comes to Russell Wilson and some of his props, because I think there's a number of props that could be favorable for some fans tonight. Tom, what do you think about this QB matchup?
This is where everything starts for me tonight, and this is where my hot takes are. And tonight is the Russell Wilson game for the Steelers. This is where everything starts for me. This is my entire game script for tonight. What has been the storyline, the prevailing storyline for the Steelers this season, dating back into training camp? Is it going to be Russell Wilson? Is it going to be Justin Fields? Wilson has his calf injury. He doesn't play. It's Justin Fields. Then Wilson's going to start. Who's going to start? What is it? Justin Fields is inactive tonight. What would happen if Russell Wilson goes out there and says, you know what, I'm going to show that I am going to be the quarterback for the rest of the season? What does that night look like? There's one time that, because if Justin Fields was healthy, we could be potentially talking about, oh, wait, do we take Russell Wilson unders? Because if he starts off slow, then will Fields come in? That is not the case tonight, because he does not have to worry about Fields coming in tonight. So this means Russell Wilson can go out there and truly show that he should be the starting quarterback for the Steelers for the rest of the season. He should be slinging the ball. So despite a low total, and you think this is going to be a big Najee Harris game, this is the time that we take Russell Wilson, not just over 197.5, but 225 plus. He's at the goal line. They're inside the 5-yard line. He audibles out of a running play so he can get that extra touchdown pass, so him over 1.5 passing touchdowns tonight, over attempts, over completions tonight. This is the Russell Wilson game, so there's no shadow of a doubt that he should be the starting quarterback for the Steelers for the rest of the season. And this is solely because Justin Fields is inactive tonight, or he's the emergency quarterback 3 dealing with a hamstring injury. Because if he was active, there would always be this thing in the back of your mind that Fields could come in, but that is not the case tonight.
I will say Justin Fields sat on the sideline the entire previous game with his helmet on, as if at any second it was about to be on for him. But I do like the over for a lot of things when it comes to Russell Wilson, because, again, what we saw in that second half versus a Jets team that should be slightly, I mean, if not more, slightly edging what the Giants can produce defensively tonight. But, Adam, talk to me. What do you got? What are your thoughts, your trends, your friends, or just anything for this QB matchup, or what Tom just unloaded there? Because I think Tom watched film last night.
My God, unloaded is right. Tom needs a cold shower, and Dave over here, the Pittsburgh fan's going to need to, I don't even know, call a doctor.
I almost said amen. I sounded like we went to church right there. He was talking, Pittsburghese, Yinzer, everything. That was great. Go ahead, Adam.
You got
Get yourself a Primanti sub while you're at it. I don't know that we should necessarily expect that big a night out of Russell Wilson, but that is not just... it's multifaceted. For one, I don't think very highly of Russell Wilson, but that being said, he went out and completely surprised me in that contest against the Jets. He was measured, he was in control. The offense was unquestionably more efficient with him than it has been all year with Justin Fields. And I will readily admit, I never saw that coming at all. And so I'm talking about these numbers like this is a big ask. Maybe, like 225 passing in today's NFL should not be a problem for most guys. That being said, it does seem like the numbers are a little bit down this year across the board, but maybe I just think you're a little bit maybe taking this Giants defense for granted, and the amount of pressure obviously that Wilson is going to be under. Both these QBs for that matter are going to be under. I mean, Daniel Jones took 7 sacks last week, and that wasn't even against an elite defense in that embarrassing loss to the Eagles. Now he's going to have to face a ferocious pass rush led by TJ Watt, which is, that's what has me interested. It's not necessarily the Daniel Jones passing numbers that I would be drawn to. It would be his scrambling and rushing. You can get him at 24.5, 25.5 rushing yards. I think he's going to be running all over the place, especially with the uncertainty in the backfield in terms of the timeshare and the workload for Devin Singletary and Tyrone Tracy, not knowing, again, like that's what the books for these two guys, we'll talk running backs later, but those two guys, neither one is even at 35 or 40 rushing yards, because even Vegas doesn't know, who the priority is going to be. The leading rusher on the Giants side could very well be Daniel Jones. I think he is going to be scampering all over the place. It's just on the other side with Russell Wilson, he doesn't have that mobility anymore. Once upon a time, obviously, but no longer. He's not pulling out a Cordell Stewart impression over there in a Pittsburgh uniform, and so he is going to be a little trapped in the pocket, and unless he can get it to old, unreliable George Pickens, who I can't even think of a dude that lets me down more often than he does when it comes to, his player props or even looking for 25 plus in builders, whatever it may be. He locked in on him last week, Dave. There's no question. We'll see if he's able to do it again. If he is successfully, Tom will get his numbers.
The bromance should be there. I mean, look, this is a guy who continued to sing Russell Wilson's praises in the locker room when he was not considered a QB1 or when nobody even wanted him to be the QB1. Now everyone's all high up on Russell Wilson and then some. Love the Daniel Jones perspective when it comes to the ground game. He's actually third on the team, Wild. Third on the team with 50 carries for 184 yards. So, of course, when TJ Watt comes hunting him down, he's going to be trying to flee using his legs. Outside of that, sitting at 21 sacks on the season as well. So, come on, guys. Defensive props, somebody figure it out besides the Daniel Jones interception that all of us have. But I don't know if Adam's just being a negative Nancy today, but I think Tom did a great job of getting everybody hyped up for the Steelers, right, Dave?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, seriously, we talked about everything. There's a sandwich in Pittsburgh from this Permani's place called the Danger Russ. They called it the Danger Russ. Hopefully Danger Russ is tonight. But I don't want him to be a danger and throw a pick. I can't believe that the price for Daniel Jones to throw a pick is only minus 120, but the price for Russell Wilson to throw a pick is even almost pick 'em. Like, he ain't throwing a pick. Look at this. Bet the no. He's not throwing a pick tonight. Come on.
Hopefully not. That Danger Russ sandwich, though, is like a heart attack between buns. Just everybody know that. Probably approach that extremely cautiously or just not at all. Don't go anywhere. We got some same-game parlay action on the other side, and Tom's very confident he's walking away with another W, so all shall see once we get back from the other side of this quick break. Here.
Talk about how these series came to a head and what has been happening in this postseason for the Yanks. Offensively, it hasn't been Aaron Judge.
Baseball is such a big win here. All you ask for, East Coast Monster City, West Coast Monster City, the biggest of biggest Titan superstars on both sides here, two mammoth fan bases. The entire country can buy into this one.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst player screen I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. So here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I tend to do this a lot, by the way. I do it more in baseball, but the anytime home run, where I may play 4 players hit home run. I call it covering the board. You know, if I take 4 players, bet the same amount on each, I only need to hit 2 of them and I win money.
He's already got, 438 rushing yards on the season. He's looking like the old LT days where the Chargers were able to have that strong, dominant running back.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
They lost in Neyland to Tennessee, 24-17. Again, and look, that puts Alabama in a very tough spot. I was looking at the SEC standings just before. They've got 2 losses now in conference because they lost that Vandy game.
They're still one of the top-ranked teams in the country when they lose. Everyone else drops like a brick when they lose, except for Alabama.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into Pro Football Today, the pregame party with Kasey, Tom, Dave, and Adam. And most importantly, it's one of the top times of the pregame party. It's time for us to get into some same-game parlay. All right, we know Tom is very excited to get his stuff off and going, but it's Monday, which means we don't start with you. We start with Adam. So throw it out there, Adam. Give us a winner. Let's see how you match with Mr. Confident above you here.
All right, so I went with something a little bit more modest compared to, say, an 8-1, 9-1 parlay, but we're still in the 4-1 territory, a little bit more than that, plus right around 420. So smoke them if you got them, folks. I am excited for this right here, this parlay that I'm going to debut, because it is 4 legs. All right, here's the first one, Dave. Steelers money line. I don't know about covering the spread. Again, I'd be more inclined to take the Giants with the number. But in terms of just who is going to win the game, I do ultimately believe that Pittsburgh is the better team. And also, this is a very important game in the arms race with the Ravens in that AFC North division. So give me Pittsburgh to win, just again on the money line. Wan'Dale Robinson. So if Daniel Jones is under a whole bunch of pressure, as we believe he's going to be, that means get rid of the ball quickly. And who do you do that to other than Wan'Dale Robinson, who has 5+ receptions in his last 5 games? The targets are consistent, anywhere between 9 and 14 during that stretch. He doesn't get a lot of yardage, pardon me. It's not a lot of big gains by any means. In fact, guy will have 6-7 catches and only give you like 35 yards. It's kind of remarkable, actually. So we're not going anywhere near his yards, but the catches, the volume, it's going to be heading in his direction. I'm looking for him to catch a handful of balls. And so, again, 5+ catches. I mentioned George Pickens and how much he ticks me off. That being said, if I do believe the Steelers are going to go out and win tonight, I don't think it's going to be, all due respect to, I don't know, National Tight End Week, I guess, Pat Freiermuth. I think he'll be involved, but I don't think it's going to be him running the show, leading the way. I think it's going to be Pickens, because it has to be. The number 1 receiver, who, again, had a great connection with Russell Wilson last week. I expect that to continue, and let's look for him to get, what did I say, 60+ receiving yards on that thing? So let's do that for Pickens. And then the other one, you'll notice the total a little bit high, 43.5, and alt under on that for the total. I think the full game is going to go under the 36.5. I even have some alt unders, if you will. I played under 30.5 as an alt personally, but we're going to play it more conservative in the parlay. 43.5. Strange things happen in these island games. Put those 4 legs together. Again, that is plus 419 over on FanDuel.
Okay.
I saw the George thing, and I was like, not from the George hater, but you know what? When it comes to money, honey, who knows what goes down? Tom, what do you got for us?
Yeah, let's jump in, and this SGP is a little bit higher than normal. This one's up at plus 560. Did I win last week's SGP on Thursday night because of the safety? It went over 48.5 because of the safety. Yes. Let's circle back to today. Of course, I am also starting off with the Pittsburgh money line. I think they win. Do they cover? Again, I have some doubts on that as well. I'm in line with Adam on that. And then again, Russell Wilson taking command of this offense to show that he should be the starting quarterback for the rest of the season. So I'm going to play it safe with the 197.5 on his passing yards there. I think he goes over the 1.5 passing touchdowns. That's up at plus 162 on its own. I think that is also solid. Again, when they're inside the 5 or inside the 10, I can see him audibling out of run plays to have more passing plays, just to, I don't want to say pad his stats, but like, let's call it what it is. He wants to be the starting quarterback. Everyone wants to be the starting quarterback. So the yards are going to be there. The passing touchdowns are going to be there. And then I do like Pat Freiermuth, not as an extension of this national tight end day that we saw yesterday with every single tight end apparently scoring touchdowns. But I like Freiermuth to pick up some yards over 27.5. He's been over this mark in 5 out of the 7 games. We generally see Arthur Smith favorable somewhat to tight ends, maybe not with Kyle Pitts when he was with Atlanta. But Freiermuth does play a good role for the Steelers. So 27.5 is the number he can get to. I'm going to say in 2 catches. Russell Wilson, Steelers come away with the win.
Wow. All right. There's some things that I like on both cards here, but I'm not the decision maker. No, Dave, that's on you. But I'm going to give you some time to chew on all that information that the boys just threw out into the mix there, because, I mean, it's still the same football week. I can't imagine that they're not going to try to give some tight end love to Pat. He came in hot for their performance last week. I mean, why not get Patty a tutty to get him into the mix of the tight end celebration going on all week long? Because why not celebrate tight ends even longer? Make sure you're following SportsGrid over at SportsGrid. That's over on X, as well as these 3 handsome faces, as I mentioned beforehand. While Dave figures out who the winner of SGP is, we're going to get ready to go to another quick break. And then on the other side of that break, we got to continue to take some things head to head, because I think we got to talk about this wide receiving room and what might go down on the ground for the running back. So stick with us here on Sports Grid.
When you talk about how these series came to a head and what has been happening in this postseason for the Yanks, offensively, it hasn't been Aaron Judge.
Baseball is such a big win here. All you ask for, East Coast Monster City, West Coast Monster City, the biggest of biggest Titan superstars on both sides here, two mammoth fan bases. The entire country can buy into this one.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game where it was the worst player screen I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. See, here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I tend to do this a lot, by the way. I do it more in baseball with the anytime home run, where I may play 4 players hit home run. I call it covering the board. You know, if I take 4 players, bet the same amount on each, I only need to hit 2 of them and I win money.
He's already got 438 rushing yards on the season. He's looking like the old LT days where the Chargers were able to have that strong, dominant running back.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
They lost in Neyland to Tennessee, 24-17. Again, and look, that puts Alabama in a very tough spot. I was looking at the SEC standings just before. They've got 2 losses now in conference because they lost that Vandy game.
They're still one of the top-ranked teams in the country when they lose. Everyone else drops like a brick when they lose, except for Alabama.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
You are watching Pro Football Today, the pregame show with Kasey Hudson, Dave Sharapan, Tom Vecchio, and Adam Kaufman. We just wrapped up some same-game parlay action, but it's time for Dave to pick a winner. Tom's feeling confident, but let's see where the cards lie as the King picks his next.
All right, so we got to look at these things, and we start with Adams first. Quick recap of it. It looks pretty good, and you did use some Steelers stuff in there, which, again, made it work for me. And you got those. I mean, how does the receptions for Robinson not go over? I just went back and looked real quick during the break. His yardage prop is 37.5 or 38.5, depending on where you're shopping. 5+ receptions, that's like 7 yards a catch. Okay, not worried about the yardage. Steelers are winning. You used an alt total. You threw me off with that one. I got to be honest. I didn't see that one coming. And you're not even afraid of the minus 320. Now look at Tom's. All right? Tom's has one landmine that I'm looking at with Tom's. All right? It's the Russell Wilson over 1.5 touchdowns.
Yep.
That I want to happen. I really, really want to happen. In Pittsburgh, every time Freiermuth catches a ball, even on the road, they go, move! They just scream it. Everywhere you go, home, road, wherever. That one I'm not worried about.
Plus an Angel
the
gets
Russell
wings.
Wilson one I'm not worried about. And what?
Adam,
I didn't hear a word that was said.
Every time Freiermuth scores a touchdown, an Angel gets its wings. That's what I said.
That's fine. Fair enough.
Mr. Positivity.
Tonight,
Yeah.
I can't go with the haircut. I can't. I got to go with
Oh.
Adam. Adam wins. I got to go with Adam tonight. I love Tom's. I think they're both going to win. You guys always yell at me when I pick both. All of that Steelers stuff should happen. So all of it, I'm rooting for both of you, as I am all the time. You guys didn't cross the streams. Everything's nice. And for Kasey, you involve the tight end. I mean, this is a hell of a party. This is a Monday. This is great. I love it.
It's so kind of you guys to do that for me on tight end week of all things. But at least you didn't try to pick both winners, even though you still kind of backtracked there at the end. But in spirit, we're always celebrating each other regardless. Adam took the victory on that one. We got to move back on to some head-to-head action, though. We talked about the quarterbacks as much as possible, to say the least. I think all of us are on the same train when it comes to an interception by Daniel Jones. Outside of that, we got to talk about the targets getting involved in the action tonight. So when we look at receiving yards, we always talk about Malik Neighbors for the Giants to be the weapon, the go-to, the guy who's going to help them find any progression in their offense. George Pickens and his hater, well, I think he's going to have another big game here. So let's go ahead and take it match head-to-head. Tom, where are you at when it comes to your favorite props and angles for the wide receivers of tonight's matchup?
I am totally on board with Pickens having a big game. And, we saw signs of it last week, like these deep ball, or the deep ball, him being the option for the deep ball. That's what we get from Pickens. And if someone could bring up, do we know what his longest reception is? Because, again, this is like the kind of double dip where he can go halfway to it. What do we got?
24 and a half. How does that not go over?
Right, so he could go 24 and a half, and then boom, he catches another one. He's over his yardage prop in 2 catches, and he's over. This is what his role is, right? The underneath should be coming from potentially Jalen Warren coming out of the backfield. Their backup tight end, Washington, I forget his first name, Darnell Washington, I think it is. But that's like the role he could be playing. Again, the short moving the chains kind of options. They move it with Najee Harris coming out of the backfield, and then boom, they take the shot downfield with George Pickens. So I'm totally on board with that.
All right. Adam, where do you stand with this one? Plus, any love for the tight end getting the longest reception? We saw it happen before. We know that the comfort is there. It's only sitting at 14 and a half. Adam, go ahead.
So I was just looking at George Pickens' game log because, you ask about the longest reception, 24 and a half. Dave, who just couldn't be more pro-Pittsburgh tonight, obviously screams, how does that not go over? And I was fully prepared to crap all over that. How does that not go over? Because he's got 2 games where he didn't even have 30 receiving yards. Like, that's exactly how it doesn't go over. But that being said, in the other 5 games he has played this year, it has gone over. You're looking at receptions so far of 44, 31, 38, 27, and 40 in those other contests, and even the ones where he fell short. In one of them, he had 21. So, yeah, Russell Wilson is going to look for him deep. It's going to be more that than a catch and run, let's say. It's, at short yardage. You're gonna have some bomb down the sideline opportunities toward George Pickens. And if he can haul one in, he could absolutely get it for 25 plus yards. So I support that. I was all ready to dump all over it, but I actually do support it. Thing is with Pickens, and this is why I did put him in my SGP with a little bit of hesitancy, is that I just don't know which Pickens we're getting. Is it the guy who's going to give you 100 yards? Is it the guy who's going to finish with 25? He's just one of those guys that week to week is, for me personally, incredibly frustrating. But, he is very clearly the number 1 wide out there. I still think if you're looking for a quote-unquote safer play, I would rather lock in on Malik Neighbors. I think it's more likely he goes over his total than Pickens goes over his, just because as much as, like you mentioned, Freiermuth, he is an option. Harris out of the backfield as a pass catcher, an option. The Giants have very few options. It's Wan'Dale Robinson and it's Neighbors, and that's basically it. Sorry, Darius Slayton.
I gotta ask. Does anyone realize, Kasey, they hand the ball off a lot too, right? Like, there's going to be running backs. Like, can we bring up the running back numbers? Like, because Najee is scoring a touchdown tonight. Is he not? 61 and a half. Wait a second. Does that say 31 and a half rushing yards?
This is what I'm saying.
Is this 1942 football? What is that?
We may as well put Daniel Jones up there.
It sure does. Daniel Jones can surpass that tonight, honestly. But still, it's just considering what the Steelers defense can do. As for the Harris front, though, I believe that there's a stronger case that while they have Russell Wilson, while they've seen that he can air out the ball, they're going to want more of a balanced attack. You don't want to wear out Russell Wilson. And then Harris picked up how much yardage versus the Jets the other week. So I'm kind of seeing more of a balanced attack from the Steelers, but I still think that the numbers can hit. Outside of that, though, we're talking about Neighbors being the option for the Giants. We're talking about Robinson, but nobody's mentioning Theo James in the ways that he's kind of got into the mix of things. Tom shakes his head, though. So
No.
what's the head shake about?
The Giants tight end, Theo Johnson. I actually like him under.
Sorry.
I like him under 12.5 receiving yards, and he's been over this mark in 2 of the last 3 games, which is true. Those games, Malik Neighbors did not play. We look at him on the season for Johnson. He has a 7% target share. A 7% target share is 6th on the team. He's legitimately not involved in the passing offense. You look at his routes run, they're low. You look at his targets per route run, they're low. It is Malik Neighbors, it is Wan'Dale Robinson, and then I don't think Slayton's a great option, like Adam said, but he's still higher. So is Tyrone Tracy. So is Devin Singletary. Then it's Theo Johnson at a 7% target share. He's not an option in the passing game, under 12.5 yards tonight.
Okay, we'll see about that. Adam, any thoughts on Johnson, not James? I clearly just watched The Gentleman on Netflix, but regardless, Theo Johnson, the tight end for the Giants, getting involved in the action tonight. I'm just a girl.
That most people tuning into the show are just as familiar with Theo James as they are with Theo Johnson. The point is, they don't know who the hell you're talking about. And so, Pat Freiermuth is the guy on the other side. Muth is the dude that we should be focused on here.
Amen.
I don't know about the yards. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he goes over, obviously. But I think if I'm playing something with Freiermuth, it's one of 2 things. It's the anytime touchdown, just because you're going to get a good number on it. Or it's the over 2.5 receptions because he's got great hands. He is a consistent pass catcher. And if he gets, honestly, 4 or 5 targets, which doesn't feel like a giant ask. I mean, he's usually at least 3. I expect him to go over.
All right, we shall see. But the fun continues here on Pro Football Today. We've got Like It, Love It, Leave It coming up next. So don't go anywhere. Stick with us here on SportsGrid.
Talk about how these series came to a head and what has been happening in this postseason for the Yanks. Offensively, it hasn't been Aaron Judge.
Baseball is such a big win here. All you ask for, East Coast Monster City, West Coast Monster City, the biggest of biggest Titan superstars on both sides here, 2 mammoth fan bases. The entire country can buy into this one.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game where it was the worst player screen I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. See, here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I tend to do this a lot, by the way. I do it more in baseball, but the anytime home run, where I may play 4 players at home. I call it covering the board. If I take 4 players, bet the same amount on each, I only need to hit 2 of them and I win money.
He's already got, 438 rushing yards on the season. He's looking like the old LT days where the Chargers were able to have that strong, dominant running back.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
They lost in Neyland to Tennessee, 24-17. Again, and look, that puts Alabama in a very tough spot. I was looking at the SEC standings just before. They've got 2 losses now in conference because they lost that Vandy game.
They're still one of the top-ranked teams in the country when they lose. Everyone else drops like a brick when they lose, except for Alabama.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into Pro Football Today, the pregame party with Kasey, Tom, Dave, and Adam, running through all the things that you need to know to get you ready for the Giants taking on the Steelers for Monday Night Football. But we get to the other fun part outside of SGP. It's time for some Like It, Love It, and Leave It. All right, time to flip the script. We start with Tom because it's Monday. What do you got for us on Like It, Love It, Leave It, Tom?
Like it, love it, leave it would be Russell Wilson for 225+ passing yards. It's only sitting up at plus 182. We're not making, in the past few weeks, we've talked about these, different quarter bets, half bets that are at 4-1, 5-1. I liked Javonte Williams up at 12-1 for 100+ yards. On board with essentially the same thing. I'm expecting a single player or two players on each side to have big games. And his passing prop is sitting at 197.5. This is not a big ask for him to just grab a few more yards, right? We're not talking about him ulting up to 300, which I would absolutely not do. And, largely in line with Adam, Russell Wilson's an okay quarterback in my mind, especially at this point of his career. Last year, he averaged just over 200 yards per game. Obviously, it's a different offense. A lot of different things to take into consideration. Last week, it was a bit of a slow start, but he still had a good second half. So we can kind of bring some of that over into the first half of this game and hopefully the entire game, along with the thesis that I have tonight is he wants to show out to bring a big game to prove that he should be the starting quarterback. So 225 at plus 182, I think is a solid spot.
Show up and show out. Adam, what are you adding to the Like It, Love It, Leave It category?
So I considered doing something that would be fun that I do encourage because it's just it'd be a silly little investment to sprinkle on into the game, which is either team, you could bet them individually, either team to have 5+ sacks, because I think both these quarterbacks are going to be running for their lives, most notably Daniel Jones in this one. You can get a great plus number on either of those. But I kept myself in check with the Like It, Love It, Leave It, and I went with a couple of the receivers that I was just talking about in the last segment or two, and that's George Pickens and Malik Neighbors, 25 receiving yards each per half, 6-1. I don't need to go into great detail again about the wide receivers. I've been talking about them plenty. Let's just keep it simple. We need at least 25 yards out of each guy per half, 6-1. We cash it.
All right. So I guess I'm kind of somewhat on the same track as Adam, but I don't know I know what we've seen out of Malik Neighbors. I don't know if I trust it to go because 41 receiving yards the other week and teams just queuing in on him. I probably trust him to get in the end zone more than anything else, but I've got George Pickens to record 5+ receiving yards in each quarter at plus 450.
That's your Like It, Love It, or Leave It?
Yep, that's what I'm liking, loving, or leaving.
5+ receiving yards in each quarter? How does that not hit?
I have no idea, which is
I don't know.
I think
Adam can tell you how it doesn't hit.
I know.
Yeah.
Don't
times.
Say a word. Don't say times. If he doesn't catch a pass. If he catches a pass in every quarter, that's hitting. Because how's he catching a pass for less than 5 yards? Let's work in reverse. I got to put I'm putting on the party glasses because this is a party.
Ooh.
I found these. Are you kidding me?
They got a thing on the jersey store called Let's Get Crazy.
Yes, let's get crazy. All right, Kasey, this is a love it. 5+ yards each quarter plus 450. Let's go. This has to hit. If it doesn't catch a pass in the third quarter, that might be the one that gets you. Something like that. But that wins. You got to pull up Kaufman. Kaufman, I think you made a good decision not going with that crazy one because the total props of the game I think is 5. But this has to hit. If it doesn't, it's because of Neighbors. It's not because of Pickens. Pickens is getting 25 each half. All right? So I love it. I do. But the Neighbors thing, the hell with it. I love it. I was going to say I like it, but I love it.
Wow.
Does Sharapan get the same rate for the show as usual when he's just an obnoxious Steelers honk?
It's a complete
I love no nonsense, Dave.
But look, Tom.
It's all nonsense, Dave.
This is all nonsense. It's complete nonsense. But Tom's is not nonsense either. This is a 3-team love it night on the parlays. Russell Wilson, 225. How is plus 182? It's because he gets hurt. You guys mentioned all this. right? You guys get to do all these plays and parlays and all this other stuff. I'm coming back with one for you, and I'm going to throw it to you first, Kate. Najee Harris to get a touchdown tonight. Anytime Tutty's even money, Russell Wilson's the only quarterback technically on the roster. If they get close, he's a really good QB sneak guy, but they're going to give it to Najee. Najee to get a touchdown, Case. Like it, love it, or leave it.
You know what? I love it because I don't think they want Russell Wilson running, not even trying to do a QB sneak, for one. For two, the slowish start that they had last week, I think that they're going to go to the run for getting their touchdowns, at least in that first half there. So you know what? I'm on board with it. Plus, I need Najee to get up to 60 rushing yards one way or another, and that he can do that towards the end zone. So I'm on board with it. I'll add to the love group of the night.
Does Kaufman
I would say
it? I need to know. I need to know first, Kaufman. Do you love it anytime?
Listen, man, I love it because you love it, and I'm just hoping that curries favor for me into my next show and the next parlay that I give you. No, it's a solid play, of course. I mean, if we're trying to identify guys that could score touchdowns in this game beyond the weirdos that nobody anticipates who are like 17-1 vulturing scores, I would say Najee Harris. Obviously, you have to consider Jaylen Warren as well as obviously Pickens and Freiermuth, but Harris is just as likely as anybody on the Pittsburgh side. So yeah, I'm into it.
Tom. We got to ask Tom. Tom is all about the running backs and scoring, and he doesn't like the prices, and he always says, don't do it when it's a minus. And all
I
this
like
other
this
stuff.
one. But I like this one because, again, I want to buy into Russell Wilson having passing touchdowns when they're in the red zone. So, and because I want to hit the over on the 1.5 to buy into my narrative and hit the SGP. So I like it. I like it because the matchup is absolutely there for him.
Okay. You didn't want to give it a love, though? I mean, it's just so close.
It's counterintuitive to over Russell. It's counterintuitive to over 1.5 passing touchdowns for Wilson.
All right. I know you
He
can't
has a
force love, so I
correlated
won't
brain,
force it on
Casey.
you.
You got to remember that.
Yes, and you cannot force love. I get it, guys. I won't do it to him. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We still got more pro football today, the pregame show here on SportsGrid TV. We got another quick break coming up, and we'll catch you guys on the other side.
Talk about how these series came to a head and what has been happening in this postseason for the Yanks. Offensively, it hasn't been Aaron Judge.
Baseball is such a big win here. All you ask for, East Coast Monster City, West Coast Monster City, the biggest of biggest Titan superstars on both sides here, two mammoth fan bases. The entire country can buy into this one.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst players we've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. See, here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like this that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I tend to do this a lot, by the way. I do it more in baseball with the anytime home run, where I may play 4 players hit home run. I call it covering the board. You know, if I take 4 players, bet the same amount on each, I only need to hit 2 of them and I win money.
He's already got 438 rushing yards on the season. He's looking like the old LT days where the Chargers were able to have that strong, dominant running back.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
They lost in Neyland to Tennessee, 24-17. Again, and look, that puts Alabama in a very tough spot. I was looking at the SEC standings just before. They've got 2 losses now in conference because they lost that Vandy game.
They're still one of the top-ranked teams in the country when they lose. Everyone else drops like a brick when they lose, except for Alabama.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
at it with Pro Football Today, the pregame show with Kasey, Tom, Dave, and Adam, getting you prepared for Monday Night Football. Giants taking on the Steelers. We just had Like It, Love It, Leave It. We had Same Game Parlay. We've really thrown everything out there, but we haven't had much time to kind of dive into the running back group outside of the wide receiving conversation, and I think maybe I've talked enough about the tight ends. But regardless, it's time for some final thoughts. Any other best bets or angles you want to throw into the mix? And Tom, I always throw it to you first.
Yeah, the running back room for the Giants, I would say, is a bit of a mystery just because of the timeshare between Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary. Like, we just don't know what we're going to be getting from them, and frankly, that leaves a lot of mystery. I think there is room if you are keyed in on one player and that player goes off. I think that player's going to hit all their props, and the other player may not. So ultimately, I don't have a whole lot of interest there. I think Jalen Warren is just a good talent for the Steelers, especially being involved in the passing game. So if you want to have some type of exposure to him, I think that's certainly fine from a rushing plus receiving. But Najee Harris should be that guy. I will be honest, I was looking at Najee Harris on the over on his attempts, rushing attempts, which was, I think it was 17.5 or 18.5, just because, again, a lower scoring game should be a little bit, lack of scoring, lower total. But again, I was buying into the Russell Wilson narrative, and then Najee Harris having a lot of carries, again, counterintuitive to Wilson having a big game. So I want to go to Russell Wilson having over 18.5 completions. He had 16 last week versus the Jets. Again, he started off the first half a little bit slow. If they can iron some of those things out, I expect him to be better this week. Wilson over 18.5. Keep it nice and simple.
All right. Simplicity is best sometimes. Adam, where are you at for your final thoughts, best bets, angles, anything else you want to throw into the pot here?
Well, I already mentioned I like the under 36.5 in this game, but just to provide a little more context around that, Giants games this year, and we're talking obviously both teams, games that they play in, average about 35 points per game. So already the trend is in our favor in that way. We have seen the Giants fail to record even 10 points in 3 of their games this season. The Steelers' offense is completely unpredictable with Russell Wilson. I can tell you, it's not going to look every week or even this week like it did the last time out against the Jets. That was an anomaly. That's not a sign, a harbinger of things to come. It's definitely not going to happen tonight. And oh, by the way, to credit the Pittsburgh defense, Dave, it is allowing 14 points per game, and that's second in the NFL. So yet another little bit of evidence that the Giants offense is going to have some trouble tonight. I just think, look, it's boring. It's the whole watch and paint dry thing, but I think points are going to be hard to come by in this contest. Also, New York 6-1 to the under this year. Pittsburgh is 4-3 to the under. The trends, Kasey, are to the under.
Okay, so today our trends are friending with us. I don't know. I get a little bit nervous, but I don't touch the over.
What are you nervous about? Tell me exactly what you're nervous about. What are you nervous
about? Say something
about?
weird happens. Say something weird happens and the Giants. Let me share my heart with you all, okay? Say something weird happens and the Giants just happen to find 7 points, or get about 3 field goals, 9 points. And then you got the Steelers team that are able to put, 20 plus points on top of that. You're getting really close to the total there, And then you have this fourth quarter takeoff because now the Steelers are feeling confident. Or what about a defensive touchdown? Because it's so possible with what can go down with the Giants and the mess that is. So there's just too many things. They can make this Monday a Freaky Friday, and that total is not my friend. So those are my my biggest thoughts with that one. Thank you so much. That felt like such a safe to get that off my chest.
You feel better?
I do.
You're in a safe place.
Oh my
You're
gosh.
absolutely in a safe place. Listen,
Wow.
we got great people working
Trust
behind
me.
the scenes. Taya's done an unbelievable job
Taya.
tonight, along with Vincenzo. And listen, it's the first time that I got my team. It's nighttime in Pittsburgh behind me every time I do a show here on SportsGrid and anywhere else. So this one hit home. And I brought hats for you. I have an extra hat if anybody wants to wear it. It's close by. I don't need it right now. I got Donnie singing Renegade, which they're going to be playing when the fourth quarter starts. The line just moved to 38 out here in the desert. The late money's on the over.
Oh.
You know why? Because Boswell doesn't miss field goals at home, especially. The defense might score a touchdown tonight. There might be a special teams touchdown tonight, Case. And I brought a terrible towel just in case anybody needs one. The Steelers are winning. Don't worry about that. 24-13 might be the final score. If you need an exact score prop, take it on that, because that would put us right on that total of 37. That's a gigantic payout, and it breaks the books because all the teasers cover. That's called a four-way teaser in the book, and all my bookmaker and oddsmaker friends are going to be mad at me that I even said it out loud. Go Steelers.
All right. Throw your rally towels around just to give Dave that extra layer of support. We got Steelers love really rolling throughout here. But make sure you give these guys a follow. We'll be chatting on social media over at SportsGrid as well as our personal handles. We got more on the other side of this break.
Talk about how these series came to a head and what has been happening in this postseason for the Yanks. Offensively, it hasn't been Aaron Judge.
Baseball is such a big win here. All you ask for, East Coast Monster City, West Coast Monster City, the biggest of biggest Titan superstars on both sides here, two mammoth fan bases. The entire country can buy into this one.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst player screen I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. See, here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like this that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I tend to do this a lot, by the way. I do it more in baseball with the anytime home run, where I may play 4 players hit home run. I call it covering the board. You know, if I take 4 players, bet the same amount on each, I only need to hit 2 of them and I win money.
He's already got, 438 rushing yards on the season. He's looking like the old LT days where the Chargers were able to have that strong, dominant running back.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
They lost in Neyland to Tennessee, 24-17. Again, and look, that puts Alabama in a very tough spot. I was looking at the SEC standings just before. They've got 2 losses now in conference because they lost that Vandy game.
They're still one of the top-ranked teams in the country when they lose. Everyone else drops like a brick when they lose, except for Alabama.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into Pro Football Today. It's the pregame show with Kasey Hudson and now Johnny Rightside to get us right side and ready for this matchup. Giants taking on the Steelers. Everybody's hot and heavy on the Steelers, obviously, because the Giants have proven what to us this year. But how do we make this game exciting? What is your initial thoughts when it comes to this matchup?
I'm with you on this. I think it's a Steelers night, but also that 5.5, 6 that we've been seeing out there. I say to myself, why is it only 5.5 to 6? Because everybody's on the Steelers, and rightfully so. Better football team, better quarterback, better defense across the board, and they're home and also got some juice last week from a big win with Russell Wilson over the New York Jets. So my question is, what are we getting out of the Giants and Daniel Jones tonight? They say he doesn't have a short leash, which is a good thing. Doesn't have to look over his shoulder, but at the same time, that short leash could be 5, 6, 7, 8 sacks against him tonight, just like the Eagles did to him last week, Kasey.
Oh, see, that could be problematic. Now, Adam Kaufman was potentially looking at a 5 sacks prop here for the night, and we weren't too sure about it because Russell Wilson, the expectation is that he could potentially go down. They don't want him to use his legs as much. They want him to focus on his arm and moving the ball down the field. But how is he going to make those connections? Is it going to be a big George Pickens night? Do we think we see a balanced attack here? Because some people are kind of steering away from Harris, thinking, okay, he's going to be all Pickens, maybe some tight end love because it's tight end week. How do we gauge how the Steelers offense is going to orchestrate?
I think it's going to look good. Why? Because I don't think the Giants defense is very good, but also understand Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers, works under Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin's not going to come out and say, Kasey, let's throw it all over the lot here, because they're good enough to beat them with a sound game as long as they don't turn the football over. But George Pickens, he's going to get his deep shots. You saw last week the Philadelphia Eagles absolutely abused that Giants defense on the ground. Najee Harris, past 2 games, 100-yard games, he looks fantastic. The play-action pass should be open, but you bring up a good point here. There's a very good defensive line for the New York Giants, and that's Dexter Lawrence in the middle. You're banged up at guard, center, guard on the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's going to get a sack tonight. It's just a matter of how you manage that, and maybe you got to keep an extra tight end or two to try to block some of those outside guys.
Okay, we were also talking about the potential of either a defensive touchdown or going with a turnover. For one or the other, which one would you lean towards if you had to put your money on it? The defensive touchdown or an interception?
Oh, I'll go interception there. No doubt about it. Like Daniel Jones is going to throw one up in the air. He's going to be under pressure all night. TJ Watt, I expect to get him a sack as well. One of my bets tonight is I had to include that, but he's so expensive. It's like minus 230, minus 240 to get a sack. So I just paired it up with a money line for the Pittsburgh Steelers to bring it down to a 115. But the biggest surprise, forget about the Steelers losing. Like TJ Watt not getting a sack would be a massive upset.
That's true. I'd be upset because he's one of the most exciting players to watch when it comes to the Steelers. But while we're at it, you pivoted perfectly right into it. Talk to me about some of your other best bets of the night.
Yeah, I'm really looking to, like, a lot of times I buy down, but if we're being honest, a touchdown scoring market, say, Donnie, give me one bet tonight. It's Najee Harris. He's around plus 100, plus 110 at multiple outlets. Here's why I like it, too. Sometimes I'm going to get a little bit nervous later in the season because I think the Steelers will be better when they have Justin Fields in, not as a starter, but coming into the red zone, an absolute dominant threat who can take those rushing touchdowns away. If we're looking at Russell Wilson and the calf injury, he says it's healthy. 2-yard line, 3-yard line, are we running it in with Russell Wilson? No, we're handing the football off. And it's probably not going to be Jalen Warren. It's going to be Najee Harris. I love Najee to find pay dirt tonight.
Any love for the tight ends? I mean, I know.
Come on now. Freiermuth around 25 yards. That has got to be an automatic bet. Last week, 2 catches, 50-plus yards. He's going to be involved tonight. And anytime it's 25, hey, he's got 1 catch for 6.5. You're right in it, man. You're right in that.
Absolutely. I thought we were kind of underestimating that a little bit, but I think the guys thought that I was just still being a little too high up on the whole tight end night, tight end week, whatever we want to call it. I celebrate the tight ends year round. We all know that. Now, some of my best bets that I have, Russell Wilson over 197.5 passing yards. I can't imagine that he doesn't hit this because the expectation is that he is going to build off of what he did last week versus the Jets because he has the capability to do that versus the Giants. Now, Tom altered that one up for his like it, love it, leave it to 225.
Okay.
Where would you stand on this one?
No, I like Russell Wilson tonight. That 197 makes some sense. If we're looking at a clean game plan from both sides, the reason I say that, if it's fumbles in your own red zone for Daniel Jones, if it's turnovers from Daniel Jones that turn into points the other way, you've seen it so many times. You have a perfect handicap. It's 14-0 in the first quarter, and Russell Wilson has 6 yards passing because they barely had the football because they scored in other ways here. But for Russell Wilson, for me, I would be shocked if he doesn't go over 200. Let's just say he throws 25 times tonight. You saw the passing game open up, and also, understandably, they should beat the Giants. They should have a lead, and maybe we're not throwing in the fourth quarter. But you have to understand this. Russ is still working his way back into form, which means even if you're up, he's got to throw the football in live games here. So I do like him over 200 yards, and I think it makes sense.
Yeah, and they were talking about the fact that they wanted to be a little bit more pass or have the pass attempts going because they didn't really trust kind of the accuracy when it came to Justin Fields and more so kind of finding the over-the-top balls. Justin Fields didn't have the capability to do it. Russell Wilson does, and we saw that in the end zone last week. Kind of pivoting a little bit here to the other offense, though. Malik Neighbors, he's obviously been a key weapon for that team to make any progression offensively. We don't know what to expect out of the Giants tonight, but do we think that he can go for his yardage or maybe find the end zone for the Giants?
I like yardage. It's hard to say who's going to score for the Giants because, honestly, if we're at a 36.5 to 38.5, they're the underdog team. How many touchdowns are actually going around? So for my money, I don't trust the running backs. Neighbors can get a chance to get downfield. And also the Pittsburgh Steelers have a good defense, but they've given up 200 yards passing numerous times this season and more. So if Daniel Jones can stay upright in the pocket, another key thing, too, is Daniel Jones, the reports coming out this week, still the first-team quarterback. You saw last week really struggled against the Philadelphia Eagles and got the quick hook in that game. So tonight he's not on that short leash, which means he's going to go all the way through first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. Because if you're watching saying, well, can he get to 200 yards? They can still get beat down. But the worry was he's not even going to come out for the second half. Tonight, even if he's playing bad, it looks like he'll continue into the second half. So I'm open to Daniel Jones props. They're cheap across the board.
That's very true. But I'm guessing we might all be on the same page when it comes to Jones's rushing yards.
25 and if he rushes for under that, they're going to get smoked tonight. He's got to add plays with his legs to extend drives. And I also saw it was like 5.5 carries was his number, heavily juiced to the over. I think he runs between 5 to 8 times. And also keep in mind, if he can sneak one of those out at the end of the half where they take a knee, counts as a rush there. So get the cheap ones in because I don't know if they're going to be kneeing at the end of the game because I don't think they're going to be winning.
See, those are the little things that we must know. We must know because the way that he's going to get flushed out of the pocket, or at least the expectation there, we're going to be seeing him running for days. Now, there was a little bit of iffiness when it came to what Pickens' production was going to be for the Steelers tonight. Not knowing whether you should go with his receptions, that's sitting at 4.5, or whether you should go with his yardage, that was sitting, I believe, at 61.5 last I saw it. But regardless, some people don't know. He's had some inconsistent performances. I more so think that's because of the quarterback. We've seen connection. We've seen excitement when it comes to Russell Wilson taking the helm. So what can we expect out of Pickens tonight?
He's woken up with Russell Wilson. So you're adding the deep ball in. So even if you're looking, I don't really go this way, but if there's one night I'd say, let me get the longest reception out of a player, it would be for him tonight. Because a couple of those balloon balls by Russell Wilson are going his direction. The only ones that upset you where he beats his man and the flag comes down, you get the 40-yard play, but not the yardage itself. I do think there's a chance he finds Pater, but I like his yardage to the over, longest completion. He's going to get at least 7 to 8 targets regardless tonight, and if he can make 4 or 5 of those happen, why not get close to 50 to 60 yards and put you in that ball game?
Okay, a number of people eyeballing the longest reception. Now, one of the largest things we have to talk about before you join the in-game live crew, this total. We've seen totals just go to complete dismay over and over and over again this season. Now, we're talking about a Steelers team with an expectation to put up 20-plus points. We're talking about a Giants team that have to revive themselves from not being able to have any action in the red zone for the most part. Say that the Giants are able to pull off 10 points, but the Steelers come away with 25-plus points. How attractive is this 36 or 37.5 over-under?
It's very hard to stay under that in the pros, regardless of how bad the football teams are. When you just put the numbers down and say like 20 to 10 gets you in the ballpark, who can't do that?
Right.
So I actually picked the number, which is funny, 24-12 earlier today. I'm not too sure how many touchdowns the Giants get, maybe a couple fields. So it does stay slightly under. But we also said some things about the Giants going out to Seattle with half of their football team injured. What, they get 29 points in that game? So any given Sunday, I do think the weapons are there and the explosive plays could be there on both sides on defenses as well. I still lean under, but if anybody's telling me this game could get into the 40s, I'm not going to fight you. Because also, we're late October. It's Pittsburgh. It's usually 44 degrees with 20-mile-an-hour winds. It's perfect conditions tonight out there, so that's going to help.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah.
I was just a little nervous about it because, as you mentioned, any given Sunday, most importantly, we see a number of field goals and we see things heat up in that second half there. Then you're just kind of sitting on the teeter of this total going over yet again.
Yeah.
But that's just been the script of the season. Any final thoughts or bets for this matchup before you join in game live?
I'm excited by this, too. It's another week with Russell Wilson. Next week, they go into the bye. They're supposed to win this game. So Russ wins last week, wins this week. Could the Steelers be actually a player in the AFC? Because if that defense is ramped up and charged up and you're getting solid quarterback play and Fields comes back to be that Cam Newton / Taysom Hill type player, I really like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Wasn't high on them to start, Kasey. I'm starting to get higher as we go.
All right, we'll see how dangerous the Steelers can be. But in-game live is coming up as Donnie joins Kevin as well as Joe. Don't go anywhere. Stick with us here on SportsGrid TV. Follow SportsGrid over at SportsGrid. And make sure you've got all your Monday Night Football covered here with us on SportsGrid.
When you talk about how these series came to a head and what has been happening in this postseason for the Yanks, offensively, it hasn't been Aaron Judge.
Baseball is such a big win here. All you ask for, East Coast Monster City, West Coast Monster City, the biggest of biggest Titan superstars on both sides here, 2 mammoth fan bases. The entire country can buy into this one.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst player screen I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. See, here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like this that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I tend to do this a lot, by the way. I do it.
Sites to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
He had 4 grabs in the first half for just over 30 yards, was injured, came back in briefly, and then had to be carted off.
We were pessimistic on Puka Nakua's injury to the same right knee, of that being a nothing, just a bursa, and that's it, as per Sean McVay. We felt there could be a small PCL component.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.